Powers for Breakfast is here, and we are here with the lovely Anuna Nina.
Hey!
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, big up yourself, Anuna, man. Thank you for coming down. We're honoured to have you in the
Yes.
building.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
Yeah, how was your journey here?
Yeah, good, nice and easy. I live like half an hour away. Not even 20 minutes. So it's all good.
So why don't you get the train then?
Because I'm a princess.
Zoo.
All them women.
Powers. Alright, we're here today to talk about a numerous of things. Aluna hit us up, and she's very passionate about a certain situation that's happening in a certain part of the world, and she would like to elaborate and spread awareness on that issue.
Yes.
So big her up for coming down and putting herself forward to do this. We respect her and rate her highly for that.
Thank
And we look forward to what's going to happen today. You see me?
Yay!
So Luna, talk to us, man. Tell us about yourself, man. Where you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I am 31. I now live in West London. I grew up in Reading, and I moved to West London, Ladbroke Grove, maybe 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm a teacher. I teach English in a secondary school in North London.
Okay. Where was you before Ladbroke Grove?
Well, I was in Reading,
Okay,
where I
see,
grew up.
see,
Yeah.
I see.
So when I first moved, I came straight to Grove.
Okay.
Is
I
that
never
from?
planned to leave.
Sorry, that from birth or just?
I was born in Reading.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I
Okay.
moved to Ladbroke Grove.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about your family origins?
So my mum was a refugee from Uganda.
Oh.
Yeah, but she's Indian.
Okay.
Sorry, that was misleading. Yeah, she's Indian, and
That's
my
all
dad was Indian.
Okay.
So I'm
Interesting.
Indian. Yeah, of Indian origin.
So tell us about your hobbies, your interests, what you into, girl.
So right now, yoga, reading. I'm quite a calm, peaceful person. I like peaceful activities. So yeah, and obviously with lockdown and things like that, I've just had lots of time to just chill, be alone, enjoy some alone time. Yeah.
What'd you get up to in lockdown?
Lots of stuff really. Like I said, yoga, reading, fitness, cooking, lots of stuff. I'm like a real geek. Like any opportunity to go down the rabbit hole, I'm there.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, like I'm into
Nice.
conspiracies.
Welcome
and
to
that
the
kind of
club,
stuff.
welcome to the club, you
exactly.
Geek
So
squad.
yeah, totally.
Those hobbies you just said you done through lockdown, are they new or did you always do them like before and you kind of got more into it because you had the time?
Yeah, I think I got more into it because I had the time, like so much time.
Yeah.
I've not really always been into cooking though. That's not really my thing.
Oh.
But over lockdown, I did really get into it, and I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah.
So when I come over, what are you cooking?
Yeah, we need the banquet.
What's your best dish?
Oh
Like,
gosh. So I eat mainly vegetarian and any Indian vegetarian curry. That's like my speciality. Just because it's so simple. You know, when you make one, you know how to kind of make all of them. You know, so yeah, I think Indian veg curries is my speciality.
lovely.
I like a dansak still.
Yeah.
I like the naan
Good to know,
bread.
good to
You
know.
can't beat some naan bread, man. Just
yeah,
scoop
doughy
it
naan
all
bread.
up.
I love
I
that.
prefer keema
I
naan
love
still.
that. Yeah.
All right.
I do love Indian, I can't lie. I know the whole list.
So just to take it back a little bit, you said you grew up you were born and raised in Reading, right?
Yeah.
And your parents are Indian, and you say just your mother or both your father in Uganda?
No, just my mum.
Just your mother?
Yeah, my mum was a refugee from Uganda.
Okay, so
Yeah.
how was like your household growing up? Like, even culturally is the word. Were you raised British, Indian, Ugandan?
So my parents split up when I was about 5-6 years old.
Okay.
So my mum raised me and my sister, and she raised us with a lot of freedom. We had sort of traditional values, but it was mainly kind of, I would say, more British.
Okay.
Yeah, more British, I would say,
And
than Indian.
were you aware of like how your mother was raised from early? So was her kind of struggles and her life journey incorporated in how you're grown up? How
Yeah,
you're raised?
totally. Totally. My mum told us a lot of stories from when she was young, what she went through, what her childhood was like. So we very much was aware of that.
So you were
growing
sharpened
up.
from early.
For sure, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And I feel like ethnic parents are like that. They don't ever let you forget their struggles, you know. They hammer it into
Come
you.
on.
But I'm grateful for that, for sure.
Were your parents strict?
Not really, no.
So I didn't even know I asked that, because what is strict? Strict is discipline and just principles and morals.
Exactly.
Isn't it? When you really deep
Yeah,
it, you
my
know what I
mum
mean?
raised us with very high morals,
Yeah.
as did my dad. But I wouldn't say strict, no. No.
Very vague, that word, anyway.
Yeah, it is.
And how was your childhood then, socially and even in going to school? How was like that for you?
I think me and my sister would both say we felt very different. We always felt like, because I grew up in a predominantly white area, and we didn't really see a lot, because when my parents split up, we kind of left the community, and my dad maintained relationships with people in the community, but my mum didn't really.
Okay.
So me and my sister kind of missed out of that sort of community vibe that we were, we kind of wanted to be raised with. So yeah, I think growing up there was a lot of kind of identity confusion.
Yeah.
I would say both me and my sister felt quite lost to a certain extent until we got older and we started reading for ourselves.
Is that older sister or younger sister?
Older sister.
Okay.
Yeah, she's 2.5 years old.
Why did you feel lost though? What was the reason why? Was it because you didn't fit in the community?
It's not even that we didn't fit into the community, it's that everything around us was different. Like, for example, my mum's friends didn't speak with an accent. Their homes looked completely different. They all had TVs in their room, stuff like that. There wasn't a lot of similarities, I felt, and I thought my home was different, where I come from is different. The boys I liked at school, they all like the white girls. Just like things like that. So kind of like a bit of identity confusion, like, why am I different? Why is, just lots of questions. I think, lots of questions about.
No, salute you for coming out with that, because I feel like a lot of us feel like that. I feel like that when you said that. I can relate to myself when I was younger, and I can feel like that. I like you build another character to fit in.
Yeah, totally.
This is far away from
kind
you.
of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Even down to abbreviating your name or things like that.
100%.
Compromise in so many different ways, and you don't even realise it until you get to a certain age.
100%. It's really interesting you raised the name thing, actually, because I tell the kids at school, like, when you're a kid, everyone wants to be the same, because you always want to be a part of, you want to be the same as your friends, you don't want to be different, you always want to be kind of to fit in. And the name thing's funny because me and my sister both, we changed the original spellings of our names when we got to the age of, I think I was like 12 and my sister was, I think, same age actually, because our spellings were the original Sanskrit spellings. But my sister faced a lot of racism, constantly in primary school, teachers missaying her name wrong on purpose and then laughing about it and things like that. So these small things, they really, they really get to you. And they really affect you, right?
Especially when you're at an age where you're not necessarily mature enough to deal with it.
And understand, totally. 100%. So we both changed our names by deed poll when we were about 12 years old. So,
officially by deed poll.
Just to fit in.
Yeah, just so that it was easier for like white people to say our names, and for teachers, so we wouldn't be sort of instantly different when teachers are taking the register and stuff like that.
That's a shame. So, it's a shame that you got to do that. But really, learn to pronounce man's name properly.
Correct.
It's just courtesy, isn't it? It's courtesy.
What do you mean?
And I think especially as a teacher, like, you see when I take registers, if I have a new class, for example, I'll go through the names. If there's a name that I'm slightly unsure, I'll ask the kid, and then once they tell me the first time I take the register, write it down, remember it. Otherwise, every time you take the register, that kid's going to feel anxious. That kid's going to be like, oh, my name's different. Why isn't my name James or Tom or Harry? Do you know what I mean? And it's not nice. Like, I was that kid, and it's not fun. My sister was that kid. It's horrible.
It's crazy.
So you don't want to do that.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, not even imagine. I can relate.
It's crazy. Everyone
can all relate, you know?
Yeah.
I just want to fast forward a little bit because I was reading your bio and my goodness, so much has happened in your little life. Bless you. I want to speak about you had a stroke at 26.
I was 25 when I had a stroke. Yeah.
Talk to us about that. Talk to us.
What caused it?
So the thing is, I think it was just a freak thing. So I have a little hole in my heart, which I never knew until I had my stroke. But I think, I don't know why it happened. It was a freak thing. I was taken into hospital, had 2-hour brain surgery.
Wow.
So there's 3 types of stroke. Stroke is obviously a really serious thing. There's 3 types. The first type is a TIA, which they call a mini stroke, and this is something that can happen in your sleep, and maybe your face might drop, but normally the muscle memory comes back quite quickly and you recover. There's no like long-term damage. The second type of stroke is what I had, and it's called an ischemic stroke. So it's when you get a blood clot in your brain.
Oh my gosh.
And half your body goes paralyzed. I would say, I think it's like 60% of people I left either permanently paralysed, and sadly a lot of people die from that type of stroke as well if they don't get to hospital in time.
Powers.
And the third type of stroke is a brain hemorrhage, and with that type of stroke it's rare to come back from that, because when you have a bleed in your brain, it's normally, like, I would say 70% of the time is fatal.
My goodness.
So the second type of stroke I had was that when I was at work. I was sat in my office, and it was my boss that noticed that my face had dropped, and
Didn't you notice then?
I had no idea. It's crazy. I had no
At the
idea.
time, you were still going on about your task.
Yeah. So I was sat. So I had an office job, and I was sat on my desk, and I had headphones in, and I was on the phone, and I was trying to talk, and I sometimes talk fast anyway, but it was really mumbled, and it was my boss that said, "Anuna, you're right," and I had no idea what he was talking about, but he had realised that my notebook had just fallen across the left side of my body, and I didn't even flinch.
Wow.
And my face had dropped. So yeah,
That's,
so
I can't believe you actually remember it. So you can remember.
You remember the feeling?
Yeah.
goodness.
The maddest thing is, so yeah, I had no idea what was happening. Anyway, they called an ambulance. The ambulance came. I just thought everyone was overreacting. I didn't know my face had dropped or anything. And it was when I was in the ambulance that they gave me like a injection, like a, I don't know, stroke buster injection, and it didn't work at all. And then the paramedic asked me, "Can you move your left arm? Can you move your left leg?" And I tried to, and I was looking at my body, and it was just dead, and I couldn't. And that's when I realised, like, wow, this is whatever's happening is so serious. Yeah.
Wow.
And then anyway, then I got rushed to hospital. Lots of doctors surrounded me. I was just like literally saying, call my sister," because she worked about half an hour away in Canary Wharf at a time. And then anyway, she literally came running around the corner. I saw her for about 10 seconds, and then and then I went into surgery. But because of the time pressure with strokes, time is really important.
Yeah.
So while I was having a brain surgery, they didn't have time to put me to sleep. I was like fully awake. Yes,
Oh
the
my goodness.
crazy as
Can
fuck.
you imagine?
Wow.
So
You
I
don't
was wide
remember that,
awake.
do you?
No,
Surely
I
you
do.
don't.
I do.
Wow.
So I do. Yeah, it was crazy.
Crazy.
I was lying on.
So
operating
how long was you in
theatre.
hospital for?
How long did they keep me for?
Yeah.
The surgery was 2 hours, and I stayed there for I think just under 2 weeks. Because strokes repeat, so they wanted to keep me for observations, and yeah, they did like every single test under the sun.
And did they tell you what was it that caused? Because you're so young. You were what, 25?
Yeah, 25. Yeah.
So what caused it?
They say that there's like it's not a cause, but there's a correlation with young people under the age of say 40 that have strokes. They normally have a hole in their heart, but it's not that causes it. It's just a factor they've seen that's quite common. But they can't tell me. The doctors were like, you need to come to terms with that. Maybe you'll never know.
Okay.
So yeah, just a freak.
At 25.
It's deep. That's deep.
So that's like my age now, getting a stroke.
Yeah, that's
You
great.
liar.
Oh, come off! Look at me like, yeah,
Liar.
get out of here.
Haters.
How I mean,
Haters say it's photoshopped.
how was your health, fitness, all these other things like around that time? How was your lifestyle? Not to say that caused it, but
But I think if I come
Were
to
you
my own
eating a
conclusions, I
certain
would
way?
say
Were you-
that my lifestyle I was just kind of living day to day, no real kind of purpose.
just going about however.
I was quite unhappy though. I really didn't like my job and the people that I was around. You know.
You know what? This all relates from a youth to you having that stroke. You're not being you.
Yeah.
You know,
I see that.
You're not being
Kinda linked.
Yeah, definitely. Because I was like that. I was lost. I was ill.
Asleep.
Lost. That's the
Yeah,
word.
I was ill as well, mentally ill.
Okay.
And once you wake up, you realise all the things you were doing were wrong. And thank God you did wake up, because you know
No,
what?
totally.
Where would you be today
Exactly.
if you didn't wake up? You know?
Everything happens for a reason, and you're
Right.
on this journey for a reason. So you had to go through that to get to the next stage.
Totally. And I think that I was never conscious about my health before, because I think I now understand that health is like a really universal concept. You know, it's the thoughts in your mind.
Yes.
It's what's in your heart.
Yep.
It's what resentments you're holding on to from 1999.
Yes, yes.
Environment.
Come on.
Everything. And then it's your diet, you know,
Yes.
and then it's exercise and that kind of stuff. Whereas in this country, I feel like health is quite a linear concept. You
Yeah.
know, it's just like, I'll give you a pill,
Yep.
then you get better. You have said this surgery.
Go for a
you know,
walk.
it's very,
Go to the gym,
totally.
that's it. Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas like you're not addressing all the things that are going on inside your body. That's what's, you know, that's what health is. Everything that's happening inside your mind, your body, everything.
So following on from that, you was then diagnosed with thyroid cancer.
Yeah.
Gosh.
As in immediately, or was there some time in between?
No, it was exactly a year after, actually.
Wow.
Exactly a year after my stroke, I got thyroid cancer. And I was sick. Yeah, I was sick for with the cancer, I was in and out of hospital for about 6 months. And that was a really, really dark time in my life. I was like just recovering from my stroke. I had a lot of struggles. Like I forgot how to read. lots of stuff from my stroke, lots of effect from the stroke.
So you forgot to read. So did you have to teach yourself to read again?
Yeah, so I say I forgot how to read. It was like
phonics?
No, not like that. But as in, I would read, say, powers for breakfast. I'd read one word. I say I know what that means. I'd read 2 words, then I read 3 words, and I have no idea what I've just read.
Wow.
I can't imagine how that feels.
It's crazy.
It's scary.
It's like what you can't see the word, you can't pronounce it.
I can see the word and I can say it and I can read it.
Yeah.
Right? But I can't understand what 2 words or 3 words mean together. Like I would read powers 4. Well, I know what the number 4 is. I know what powers is, but I don't understand what that means together. You know.
It's like the brain computer.
Yeah. So how long did it take for you to start putting things together?
I would say about 2 months, 2-3 months, slowly, and every day.
2 months after the recovery of the cancer, or 2 months?
No,
the
after
stroke.
the surgery.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So we were talking about cancer, innit?
From the stroke, then she had to get back into learning how to read again, move again, all them things.
And now you're a teacher.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah,
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Powers.
And so from you got diagnosed with thyroid cancer, how did that then move? How was the process from then? You've been diagnosed, you have to have all the treatments, I assume?
Yeah, so I had to have I had one surgery. So first I found a lump on my, like you can see where my scars are here.
Okay.
I found a lump. So I went to have tests. They were like, and they did a biopsy. They were like, it's not cancer, but we do need to cut it out, and we'll cut out half your thyroid as well. So I was like, okay, fine.
Jesus.
Yeah.
What choice do you have, innit?
Exactly. This is the thing, right? So then I had my surgery. After the surgery, they were like, oh no, hold on, it is cancer. So we need to operate again and remove the rest of your thyroid. And then we want you to have something like a radiotherapy treatment. So so I had my surgeries. Both surgeries, they messed up, which is why my scar's like not straight at all. Then my wounds
I
got
wouldn't have even
infected.
noticed it, darling, had you have not said, honestly.
I don't know. I kind of like them now. I used to hate them, but I've kind of grown to, they're like my battle scars, you know?
Yeah, they
So,
tell your story, right?
Yeah, totally. So for about 6 months, I was in and out of hospital, 2 surgeries, and then my wound kept getting infected, so they had to replace this, replace that.
Damn.
Yeah, that was a really.
This is
really
a
bad
strong
time.
queen
This
right
is
here.
powers,
I'm telling
like,
you.
for real.
We're only on the
Thank
first
you,
quarter of a
thank
story. It's
you.
already a movie.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Before you found the lump, was there any feelings of?
No, not
so
at
you
all.
literally
It
just
was
felt a
someone
lump.
else, I didn't even notice it. Someone else noticed it on my body and was like, "What's that?"
Before then, you were fine.
Yeah, no symptoms.
Then you went
no
in and they
feeling,
told you
nothing.
that.
I gotta start feeling
Nothing,
myself
yeah.
up a bit. Yeah,
Come on.
But listen,
Yeah.
are you on a plant-based diet now?
I was for a while. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not. No.
Did that cancer lead you to becoming a vegan?
Very, very much so. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not vegan today. I eat mainly vegetarian,
Oh, you're
and I've
vegetarian,
learned that like everything in moderation for me.
Balance.
Because
Yes.
after cancer, because I was in such a dark place, I started researching so much about health and how powerful our diet is, our thoughts, all this kind of stuff. So I think out of like fear and anxiety, I, stopped drinking. Not that I was a heavy drinker before, went completely vegan, was cooking all my own meals. But I was doing it from like anxiety and fear, so it wasn't from a healthy place. And it was my doctor that said, my stroke doctor, who said, if you smoke a few cigarettes on the weekend, have a couple drinks, like it's not going to kill you, you're not going to get cancer again, kind of thing.
Oh, this
So-
was after. So, okay.
Yeah. So after cancer, that's when I went a bit crazy with the health stuff
Yeah.
and was like, I don't want to leave the house. Like, there's chemtrails, there's GMO, there's fluoride in our water,
Yeah.
all these kind of
Yeah.
things, which are not wrong, but at the same time,
people
there's no
can go a
reason to
little
live.
bit OTT with it. So
Yeah,
you
totally.
found that the balance, rather than being vegan, being vegetarian works better for you.
100%. I was vegan for about 3-4 months fully, and I was cooking my own meals. I was off work as well, so it was easier. Whereas now I'm just kind of mainly vegetarian. And I'm not scared of eating meat because it might give me cancer, whereas before there was a lot of fear.
Yeah.
It was all fear-based kind of actions.
No, but that makes sense, because again, you can be vegan, but you're just moody and upset that you're vegan and you can't eat meat, and that's a different form of cancer where you're just angry and upset every
Totally.
day.
That's
So
it, innit?
it's what works for you really, and what makes you happy, because happiness is
100%.
also a diet.
It's also,
Absolutely.
as you said, thoughts as well. It's also being aware of it. For example, if you just do it for a test every day, you write if you had a positive day or negative day, then at the end of the year you can kind of see
Yes.
how balanced
I like
you
that
are
one,
and how
actually.
balanced you ain't.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta start taking accountability for what you are. You know what I'm saying?
100%, 100.
Wow.
Agreed.
You know what? Damn, Anuna, you're blowing us out of the water already.
I
You know what I mean?
know.
You know what though?
So inspired.
We need to have a little break quickly
Before we dive in deep.
before we dive in deep. So people, stay tuned. We're going to be hearing about the situation in Palestine. Stay tuned, people.
So talk to us then about the refugee camps, because it was Calais, Greece, and then on to Palestine. So what is that experience like? Like, tell us, what is a refugee camp when you're actually there?
And how you got there.
So the first time I went to a refugee camp, I went to Calais, and it was in between. It was before I got cancer, actually. And it was my friend Hannah at the time, and I'll always be grateful for her because she showed me how simple it is and how easy it is to help if you want to. You know, like I used to think, you have to be a doctor or a nurse, or you have to go there with some kind of specific skill. But actually you don't. You literally just need a willingness and a pair of hands. So I went with her one weekend, and we went to Calais to the refugee camp. And it was incredible. Like, we just stayed in a little hostel for 2 nights, got the ferry there and the ferry back. And it was fantastic. I mean, so a refugee camp is where people go. If you flee your country and you're seeking refuge, you then go on to a camp. And a camp is basically it's a makeshift settlement, right? So it's like tents, little huts, like self-built huts. It's where people stay and they kind of seek refuge before they go on to the next place, which might be, they might have dreams of going to the UK or going to Greece or somewhere safe.
Is the camp stateless, kind of?
What do you mean?
The refugee camps.
Is there a government, like structure? Is there people?
No, it's just people, and then they form their own kind of social hierarchy. So they might appoint like a community leader, for example.
And does that leader take you in, or the community then have to take you in? For example, when you arrived first time, do you have to introduce yourself, or can you like get your tent and get your plot?
So with Calais, so there's the refugees that are living in the camp, right? And it's kind of like the interim place where they wait until they find safety in another country. And you've got lots of different groups of people. You've got Afghanis there, you've got Sudanese people there, you've got Syrian people there, just so many different groups of people. And in each group of people, they might elect like a community leader who speaks, like the spokesman basically, right? So they organise themselves in the camp. They tend to stick to themselves in their own communities. And what I did is I went there with a charity. So the charity would arrange, say, like there's a big warehouse where everyone donated clothes, shoes, food, everything, and the charity would organise like 3 or 4 distributions a day where we would go and hand out shoes or hand out clothes or hand out food and things like that. So they relied on the charities for these kind of necessities at the time.
What was the ethnic races you was finding in the camps more?
So the refugees living in the camp. So the Calais refugee camp has actually been there for a very long time, but it came on media and was called the jungle because of the Syrian influx of people. So before then, there was lots of Sudanese people there, lots of Afghani people, Syrian people, Iraqi people, lots of people from the areas whose lands have been kind of destabilized. So yeah.
And so what is it like in terms of, are they all interacting with each other? What is like a typical day like on the refugee camp?
What's a typical day like on the refugee? So there's food distributions, I think 3 or 4 times a day. There's clothes distributions, but it's kind of like if you grab, say, 3,000 people from anywhere, everyone will form their own little groups.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, are they interacting with each other? Because obviously there'll be language barriers, and all sorts of stuff. Like, did you see any fights break out? Or?
There was quite a lot of fights actually.
Between the people themselves.
Between the people themselves, it's mad because you'd think there was like be absolute unity because we're all in this together, and there was to a certain extent, but people like to stick to their own. It's a highly emotional, it's a very emotional and traumatic thing they're going through, so nobody's like, you can't be in rational measured thought all the time, right? So yeah, a lot of problems, lots of things kicked off, but generally the atmosphere, it sounds crazy to say, but was very light. Like when we went there, they welcomed us with open arms. Like we're obviously there to help, right? And they know this. So they relied on us. We built relationships with lots of the refugees. It was a brilliant experience for us, and it was good because it's like when you care about something, it's all very well posting on social media, but when you're actively doing something, you feel like, yes, I'm here, I'm actually helping, I'm actually doing something. Not that posting on social media is not helpful, because it absolutely is, but when you're actively doing something, you feel
different.
really,
Different.
What was the ratio like in those camps between men and women and children?
What was the ratio like? Mainly men. I would say probably 60% men.
Damn.
In the camps. Yeah. Because I think when you.
I thought women and children are first.
I thought it'd be the opposite.
That's what I would have thought. But I guess it's the men that are coming to maybe try and get somewhere and settle.
Yeah,
and
exactly. And then send for the women and children. Yeah. But there were lots of children there as well. Lots of children. But I would say it was mainly men. Because like you said, they would go and find safety and refuge, then send for their family. That was their plan.
So that was the first refugee camp you went to?
Yes,
That's in Calais, yeah?
Yeah,
And how long were you there for?
So I went every few weekends. So in total, I was probably there for a month.
Oh, wow. So you're travelling from home here, England, going to France?
Yeah. Going to France, yeah. Okay. I remember it was funny, right, because I came back to work after a weekend. And so obviously Calais is like, less than 40 miles from the UK.
Yes.
And I came back to work and they were like, what did you do on the weekend? I was like, I went to Calais. And they were like, did you go on a booze cruise? And I was like...
The opposite.
Yeah, like, how do you not know what's happening? Like, 40 miles away from UK soil. Like, come on, man.
I know.
But it's the news, isn't it? The news controls it, isn't it?
It's the powers that be.
It was difficult, to adjust back because you've come from somewhere that's so, like, extreme in what you're experiencing and what's going on, and then you come back and people are sort of talking about getting pissed on the weekend. It's like it's a real paradox, right? Yeah, totally. So it was a difficult adjustment.
So
about Greece.
Yeah, go on.
Say again.
What about Greece then? How did you end up in Greece?
So I went to Greece for a week with my friend Hannah, who introduced me to I went to Calais with for the first time. And she just said, look, I'm working in refugee camps here, why don't you come out? And I was like, yeah, why not? I've done Calais, I've got a little bit of experience.
Where's your friend Hannah? Read the link up with Hannah. Like, she seems like
she's
a person I need to get to know.
Yeah, very, very passionate. But like I said, I'm grateful to her for making me realise like how simple it is. You literally just need willingness and a pair of hands,
Yeah.
So yeah. And then we went to Greece. I was there for a week, doing the same thing, distributions, helping in the warehouse, lots of stuff.
What differences did you notice between France and Greece?
So France was a very makeshift, temporary kind of accommodation, like full-on tents that you would take camping.
Yep.
Whereas in Greece, it was a little bit more organised. They would be in a warehouse, still in tents and little makeshift houses, but they had like a proper shelter. In Calais, they didn't have that. It was literally like tents, and we would help them build like proper wooden huts and stuff like that.
So is that due to the people there or the charities? Is there more investment for the charities in Greece, or...?
I think so, yeah. And I think also in Greece, like the government was involved, whereas in Calais, there was a lot of hostility that the refugees faced, like the people, the government. So the gendarmerie is like the French military police, and they were brutal. Like they would come and knock stuff down. There was no What do you mean
knock stuff down?
As in, they would come, they destroyed the camp on many occasions, because they didn't want the people there, because the camp was growing. The gendarmerie, who are the French military police, like the army, basically.
But they do that though, police do that though, all over the world.
They do.
That's shocking.
I wonder if that's kind of related to it being closer to the UK, where Calais is, and then Greece is a bit more further in. So I don't know. I'm just thinking,
I get that because it's more closer to us. So maybe they want to kind of
push them back rather than make it easy for them to cross over.
You can say that, but if you know the history of the French, you already know what type of people they are. So let's not make excuses for them. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's true. British and French colonialism has a lot to answer to,
a lot.
And it's like you're trying to push these people. Let's not get into that. Let's just.
What was the time period between the two? You went to Calais when you said.
So I went to Calais 21? before cancer, and I went to Greece after cancer. Sorry, I'm trying to get my timelines right. So beginning of 2016, I was in Calais for a few weekends, and then end of 2016 I went to Greece for a week towards the end of the year.
Now well done to you though.
Definitely.
Like I said, this queen has been through so much
with no incentive other than your own will.
Your heart's in the right place.
Crazy.
So I want to move on to Palestine. So first off, for someone like me who's not necessarily 100% clued up on what's going on, tell us first of all, what is going on there? Give us the background of how it all started, what's going on and why it's going on.
So in Palestine right now, there is a military occupation. So Israel is occupying the land.
That's the perfect word, occupying as well, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it's proper. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's a military occupation. And what a military occupation is when the occupier, Israel, sets up military checkpoints. They put their army on the streets and they end up controlling the whole of the land. So this has happened like systematically from the early 1900s.
Yeah.
So Israel was created in 1948, which is why that's the year that everybody knows about, right?
Yeah.
But before then, before the creation, they were creating, and they started creating it the early 1900s. So after just a quick, brief, tiny little history lesson without getting too deep.
Yes.
After World War One, Britain took seize. Palestine was under Ottoman Empire, right? The Turks. And then British took seize of it after World War One and gave it basically to wealthy Zionist Jewish men who wanted the land. They wanted a homeland, right? So the word Zion means home, and Zionism was the homeland that we affiliate for Jewish people, what they wanted. So from 1917, they slowly started encouraging lots of Jewish refugees to come and live in this land, which was already inhabited by people at the time who were Palestinians.
But before that, they wanted to put Israel next to Uganda.
Yeah, they had 3 different places, and Uganda was one
Israel
of them, and they
itself,
just picked Palestine.
No, Israel. They wanted to put Israel next to Uganda, and I think like the African community said, "Bruh, like, it's a bit silly, you know what I'm saying?" Like, then they found another
definitely.
spot.
And I think the third spot, it was Palestine, somewhere near Uganda, and I think the third spot, if I'm correct, was near Argentina. But they ended up picking Palestine, right?
But to be fair, I think they were always going to pick Palestine. I think it was just a little diversion to make it seem like that, because they know the land, they know where the holy scriptures are.
Yes.
They know the powers of the land. They're not stupid. You know what I'm saying? We all know.
No, exactly. So I think since the early 1900s, it's been like a systematic debilitation of this population. You know, today they target children because they don't want anyone to grow up to become a freedom fighter. They're kind of anyone who sort of resisted getting thrown out of their homes, which they did in 47 and 48 to create Israel. They arrested them, threw them in detention centres, in refugee camps. So these people have gone through a very, very difficult time, and they continue to do so because the creation of the state of Israel is at the expense of the Palestinians.
Of course,
you know, and
not many
their
people
home.
actually know that, so that's so interesting. Not many, because obviously the way when you watch the TV, it's shot very differently, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's important to know the backstory and how it actually all started.
Totally. And I think before 1948 there was a lot of resistance, right? So when the British handed Palestine, which they didn't own in the first place, to hand over, but when they did,
handing over what, bruh?
Yeah. When they handed it over, there was so much resistance and there was a lot of unrest, and that's where you had kind of extreme groups popping up. Like, for example, one of the Jewish extreme groups was like the Haganah group, for example, the Irgun, and these were kind of military groups because they wanted the land. So there was just a lot of unrest basically. And up until 1948, what they used to do, and what they're still doing to this day, and these are probably the videos that you've seen, they just go into the houses in the middle of the night, kick the people out, and they start sleeping in the beds, cooking in the kitchen. It's insane.
Occupation.
It's insane, yeah.
That's what I said, it's a real occupation.
Totally.
Like,
That's mad.
You know what they'll say? They'll say, well, from a Jewish person, they'll say, if I leave this house today that we've occupied, someone else will come and occupy after me. So it doesn't matter if I leave or not. So they're just sitting there and not caring.
And their logic...
Where's the government? Who's doing...
Israel is the government.
Doing anything about it?
That's a great question. But this is the thing, like, because... And this is one thing as well, like, I know that people think there's always two sides to a conflict, but the biggest lie that Israel ever told the world is that it was a land without a people for a people without a land. That is categorically not true. There were people... Yeah, exactly. So this is the thing. There were people there living there, and the Jewish people were already living there. So were Muslim people, Christian people, Arabs. It was a land full of people.
Of course.
But the Jewish people in the minority, peacefully under Ottoman Empire, they were great. They were living life, happy as Larry.
So this is not even a case of bad apples. No. This is a case of bad trees. But some will say
bad roots.
It's not even the tree; it's the tree house. Because when you say Jews were there before and there was no problems, so when did the problems occur then? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so you
no,
really got to
right.
deep it. So it's the Zionists, right?
Yeah, this is the thing, like, so there was a guy called Theodor Herzl who's called, like, the founding father of Zionism, right? And I won't go too deep
So what's
into
his name, sorry?
Theodor Herzl. Yeah, and he was a very wealthy Jewish man. I think he was from Hungary, actually. And he wanted to basically create a homeland for the Jewish people. He was like, I want a land that is solely 100% Jewish people. That's it, right? And you've got to remember that being a Jew that's a religion. It's not a race. You know, so he wanted a land purely for these people. So the plan when Britain handed over Palestine was always from day one the displacement of all of the Arabs, and that's what Israel is doing today, right? They are basically trying to make life a living hell for the Palestinians so that they leave. So many of them fled, so many of them went to Jordan, which is why 70% of the Jordanian population is Palestinian, because they're all the refugees, right? They got kicked out. Some of them stayed. But this is what Israel is doing. It's like, and I've been to the West Bank now 3 times, and they have literally made life borderline impossible for Palestinian people.
That's horrifying.
I can imagine.
It's kind of harsh to them, man. Palestine even got airport. Do you know they ain't got airport?
Yeah, they don't have an airport. Israel controls
You have
A to Z.
Yeah, you have to land in Israel or Jordan.
Yeah.
So if I was a Palestinian, you don't want to book a flight to Israel, do you? Because it's a bit smoky settings
And
over
this
there.
is the thing, the Palestinians that have left, like I've got a few friends in Jordan and also in the UK that are originally Palestinian, so their grandparents and their parents left, obviously at the time of occupation. They can't go there. They're not allowed. However, Israel encourages American Jews, European Jews to come and live in the settlements. The illegal settlements.
That is
They're
bad.
illegal,
That's really bad.
Like, this is the thing, that's why when people say, oh, it's two sides to the story, no, like, it's occupation, the occupier, and the
Complete
occupied.
dominance, yeah.
Total dominance, that's the perfect word. That's exactly what it is.
Palestine's a country, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, to the person who don't know so much about it, the whole of Palestine is stateless. It doesn't have a government, or have they got? Obviously, they've got community leaders and stuff like that, but they don't have the infrastructure of a government for themselves.
No, so they have the Palestinian National Authority, right? But they don't have any power, because what's happened, so in 1948, what it should have been is there was something called the UN Partition Plan, right? And this plan was I won't say it's fair, but it was just a plan to divide the land to have a 2-state solution, right? So you had the West Bank, then you had Gaza, and all of the land in between was supposed to be Israel, right? But what Israel has done is bullied their way into the West Bank. They control Gaza totally. Gaza, we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's literally an open air prison. And what they've done in the West Bank is they've built 130 completely illegal settlements. So they're just moving in and closing in on the Palestinian people when they shouldn't be there in the first place. Wow. And their checkpoints and their army and their military surrounds the West Bank. They're in the West Bank. They terrorize the neighborhoods at night. That the presence there is so dominating that, so it's like you made this agreement, the UN made an agreement for what you should do and what they deem to be fair because of the fighting, and they've not stuck to it at all. They've completely violated international law.
And just before we get into maybe Gaza or anything, is there no peace at all in Palestine? Or, there's certain areas, let's say London, there's certain areas or hoods or ends that you don't go to because it's dangerous. Is there anywhere in Palestine that is peaceful and people, and I'm not for the Jews, I mean for the Muslim community or the Palestinian people anyway? Is there any safe haven?
Yeah, totally. Sorry, I feel like the way that I've maybe described it sounds like it's a
not
complete
even how you
war
describe
zone.
it, just how the world described it. We think Palestine, we think everywhere's war, we think Gaza, we think bombs. Is there a
Is there any little town or little village where it's just like, everyone's just cool?
There is. So, for example, in I'll talk about the West Bank first because that's where I spent most of my time.
Okay.
There is. So when you enter, there's checkpoints all around, right? But at the checkpoints, what they do, it's not always violence and it's not always like a war zone. What they do is they detain people, they check your papers. They're just bored soldiers. Like in Israel, you have to join the army, right? When you turn 18, you have to join the army. So you've got lots of soldiers that are bored. They're there, they're checking people, so they're held up at the checkpoints, right? And then at night time, what they do is at night time, some of the refugee camps are huge, right? For example, there's Balata camp in Nablus, which is one of the biggest refugee camps, I think, in the West Bank, and it's 30,000 people that live in 1 square kilometre. So they don't have any permission to build outwards, so they build upwards. So some of them don't even see daylight. So they live, and during the daytime, the towns are very peaceful and they're very safe, right? Might be some Israeli army walking around, but normally it's like people can crack on with their day-to-day life. At night time, that's when tanks come. They're sort of what they do is they arrest lots of the young men, because the young men are the ones that grow up to become freedom fighters. One country's freedom fighter is another country's terrorist, you know. So that's what they do. They target like the young generation who are able to sort of fight and build a resistance.
Right?
So it is peaceful in the West Bank. It's beautiful.
Do the Palestinians know they're at war, or are they trying to just get by? Because it sounds like they're at war and they're just not really facing the enemy like that. Do you know what I mean?
They're just trying to get in.
They're not equipped to.
Exactly.
Resources.
They've been destabilized, you know, since the first resistance. So much so, there's so many Palestinian prisons, young men that have just been thrown in jail, no trial, no nothing. That's it. They're just taken because Israel controls everything.
Yeah.
And like what you said about the airports, you have to fly into Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
And then you cross the border. You go to Jerusalem, then you get a bus to Nablus, Ramallah, wherever you're going. Or you fly into Jordan and then you cross the border. And that border is renowned for just holding people for like 48 hours just to detain them. They don't want you to see the truth of what they're actually doing in these
So on the bigger level, that's where all these allies fall. Whoever's in an alliance with Israel and counter, for example, Saudi Arabia and all these other the counters. That's where the international, the politics come in, where people would want to help, or other countries would want to help Palestine, but then you've got Israel and the West, then treaties and sanctions and all of that is why Palestine is going to be suppressed.
You know what, I'm a bit you see, from what you said, I'm worried a lot because I've been to Stamford Hill, mate. And if you've been Stamford Hill, and you see what's going on over there, it's like what you're describing is actually really, it can happen here, bro.
But is that similar to saying if you go to another area, for example, Brixton or Peckham?
No, it's not.
What's the difference?
So in Stamford Hill, let me come in here.
Oh,
so,
go on.
I've observed as a Yorkshire lass coming to London.
Talk to us, sis. Talk to us.
An African Caribbean Yorkshire lass.
Okay.
Let me get that in there.
Talk to us.
But so from what I see from Stamford Hill, it's like the Jews completely dominate that area. If you think you're coming in from another community and you're going to thrive there, forget it. They've got their own schools, their own hospitals. I was shocked that they even have their own police.
Yeah.
Yep, I found that one out.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, like how is this allowed to happen?
Where's our police?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Have we been here so long?
It's ourselves. I'll put on the
Where's
vest
our
and go out there.
institutions? Where's our schools? Where's our hospitals? But again,
Can I say something as well? Let me add to that. Someone told me that certain Jews knocked on their grandmother's house 6 times to buy that house off them.
Wow.
Cash.
I've heard that before, you know.
You know what I'm saying? So
I've heard that before. They want the whole.
One thing I will say though, and I think living in this country, we kind of understand, right, because of the situation here right now with sort of COVID and the freedom fighters and things like that. In Israel, there is a lot of Israelis that support freedom for Palestine.
Yes, I've seen that.
Loads, and I have to say that 100%. This is the thing. So when we talk about Israel, we're not talking about the Israeli population. We're talking about the Israeli army and the Israeli government, who is fully run by the right-wing extremists.
The Zionists?
Zionists, yes, the ultra-Zionists.
So we just say Zionists then, more than
rather than Jews and Israel.
Yeah, so this is the difference between Zionism is like a political ideology, which is like the homeland for the Jews, 100% Jewish, no one else, and then you've got Judaism, which is a peaceful religion.
So that extremists and
exactly, that's exactly what it is. And the thing is, all these people, the Israeli population that support Palestine and want freedom for Palestine, they're muted and they're silenced. The same way, look at all the freedom protests that have been happening. Have you seen them on BBC? No. And if you have, they're painted in such a bad light. So in Israel, it's very difficult for an Israeli citizen to speak out against their government. They might want it and they might support absolute freedom and they might protest about it, but their lives are made difficult. If you don't join the army, it's like you're shunned from society. It's a very, very... People think it's a democracy, whereas subtly, actually, there's a lot of control and there's a lot of conditioning, they're kind of...
But democracy is an illusion anyway.
100%,
Yes.
thank
I
you,
agree.
totally.
Really is that.
Exactly, that's exactly the same illusion as what it is here.
Do you want to hear a knowledge bullet?
Go on,
Go,
do it,
shoot.
hit us.
Did you know citizens of Israel are the second highest skin cancers in the world. They got the second highest rate of skin cancer in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Due to the proximity near the sun, they shouldn't be there. All of that.
Come on, dog. You're
Melanin.
You know what I mean? Like, real talk.
Are we going to talk about this?
Let me break it down.
Come on.
You are dark
Give it
skinned.
to
He's
us.
a dark skinned brother. It shows me already his bloodline has been here for so long because
From the beginning.
yeah, he's the canvas, isn't it? You're the canvas of your bloodline. The darker you are, the sweeter the roots. You know what I'm saying? You know the saying. You know the saying.
I like that one.
Shut up, man. But you know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
So, like, if you are getting skin cancer at this early stage of you claiming a land, it's evident.
How could you be?
It's
there,
not
type
yours,
of thing?
then.
Yeah. It's not your natural
That's
habitat.
so true. That's so true. That's a great point.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they won't
totally.
tell you that because it
No.
takes it away from what really it is. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, it's true.
But yeah, knowledge bullet. You're pow.
Okay. I mean, I want to get into your experience. You went to a camp in Palestine, did you?
Yeah, so
You
what
said
I
in the West
did,
Bank?
yeah. So after, so there's the West Bank and then there's Gaza. Nobody's allowed into Gaza. They stop kind of like medical aid. They
No
stop
one's allowed
everything.
into Gaza?
No, Gaza is literally like an open air prison.
How
now.
big is it? Is it like saying London? Is it like saying an area?
How big is
when you
Gaza?
say
No,
Gaza,
Gaza is probably.
is it,
Oh, I
is
don't
it
want
a
to get this
strip, a
wrong.
road?
You know? I want to say it's half the
To
size
what
of
you
London,
know?
but I don't know if that's
Okay,
completely
so
wrong.
it's a town.
Yeah, it's small. It's a city.
It's a city.
It's
okay.
a city, yeah.
Okay.
I know that the average age of the person in Gaza is 14.
Wow, 14.
Yeah, and something really shocking. That one documentary I advise everyone to watch is called Born in Gaza on Netflix. It's fantastic.
Yep,
And it
Hear
tells
that?
you,
Born in Gaza.
yeah, on Netflix.
It's to
It's
leave me
brilliant.
pissed off, man. I know it.
Yeah, it's
Sense already.
very emotional. You know what? Born in Gaza, and another documentary that I urge everyone to watch is Occupation 101. And you know why that's so powerful is because it's Israeli people that are literally giving accounts and telling you the truth about what's happening. And obviously these are people that are silenced, right? Because the world doesn't want, what Israel doesn't want the world to know certain things. So they're the ones that are speaking out and saying, look, this is what my government is doing. This is what's happening. This is the truth, right? And in Gaza, I think there was a child psychologist that went there and said that over 80% of the children here are so traumatized beyond repair. Like it's irreversible. The trauma, the things they've seen, what they've experienced, it's like you can't help them.
Like you can live your whole life through that traumatic experience. If they've been there since 1948, that's older than my mum.
And then when they have
Yeah.
children,
Exactly.
that trauma is then transferred
Absolutely.
genetically, you know?
Yeah.
Post-traumatic
100%.
stress disorder. It's a real thing. Very,
Yeah,
very real.
totally. If you've got parents that are immigrants or parents that are refugees, like you know what that is because you've grown up with it. And as you get older, you realise what that's done to you, you know? So,
And no one even thinks about it like that. Because
no.
you know what? If I break it down, I know this is going off topic a little bit, but when you talk about September 11, and I was in year 7 at that time.
Yeah, 7, 8, yeah.
But if a kid was born around that time, he would be a fully 20-year-old kid that's seen war his whole life.
Yeah.
What do you
100%.
expect from that kid to become?
Yeah.
It's true.
What do you really expect?
And then as a man, you have to go out, get food, feed your family, or maybe fight, protect your family. And that's why the age of men over there is practically non-existent. They're children. They're no men.
exactly.
Damn.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's mad.
It's crazy.
It's mad. I would like to ask you, like, how do you think, like, the Palestine conflict can get resolved? Do you think there's a way
Boy.
it could be, you
That's
know?
like the $1 million question.
What would you do?
I
If
would
you was president,
What I
What
would
would you
do, I would free Palestine. That's what I would do. I would free them,
What do you
leave
mean?
them alone. I would take out all military occupation, people that, and you know what the wickedest thing is? You see all these settlements in the West Bank that are completely illegal. There's over 130 of them now, I think. And all of these people that live in the settlements, we call them settlers, right? And these are the people, people that have come from America, from Europe. They've got no ties and no claims to the actual land because they're generations upon generations, their parents, their grandparents, they're not from there.
it's a political move.
You know?
It's a political move, isn't it?
Exactly. This is the
It's
thing.
occupation. You keep saying that word.
Exactly.
It's
I would
occupation.
just free them. Like, help Gaza, free the West Bank, free Palestine, get rid of all the military occupation, get rid of the checkpoints, just
See,
leave them alone.
That's you with your kind heart. Of course, they've got interests and money and land.
I keep saying it's bigger than that, bro.
No, it is bigger
It's
than
the
that.
secrets of the land.
Of course, and it goes back to what we said about, for example, residency. When they said, if I don't take this land, someone else will come and take it.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar on a bigger level, where if Israel don't occupy, then United States will occupy or Germany will occupy. So the international government, as a president, you could free them. Then here comes another country, Belgium or France, come and then they take them. So it's war. And whoever wins the war does what they want.
Let's not forget Israel got backing as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also I think what the biggest problem is, which is why I don't even want to say that there's a solution. Like, I really don't know, because it's gone too far now. Like, people who live in the settlements, all the Israelis, like, now their parents are born and raised there, so now they do have claim to the land because it's gone too far.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, as much as I say, idealistically, I'd like to get rid of all military occupation, get rid of the settlements, the fact are they have had children there. Those children now have claim to the land. So what are you going to do with them? You know? So if Israel had stuck to the partition plan and not violated all of the rules and exploited everything, then maybe there would be kind of, you know, a bit more grounds for an actual solution.
Okay.
You know?
Which of the camps was the worst you've seen from the ones we've mentioned?
I think Balata camp, and that's in Nablus in the West Bank. And the reason is, like I think I said before,
the French, the Calais.
Yes, and the reason why is I think it's just over 30,000 people live there.
Ooh.
And it's in 1 square kilometre.
Ooh.
Wow, 30,000.
So yeah,
in 1 square kilometre.
And this is the thing: Israel doesn't give them any authority, or they don't allow them to build outwards, so they build upwards. So you walk into the camp and it's dark. There's no daylight because the buildings are so tall to accommodate them. There's no daylight. I walked into the camp, I remember, and obviously, so with the first time I was in the West Bank, I was making little videos. If you see my Instagram, there's pictures of little kids holding signs and stuff, right? Yeah. So, well, I would walk into camp, obviously wearing a scarf, so they know, you know, I'm on their side. I'm not anyone to be worried about. And I would have my signs, and like we walk into the camp, and the kids just flood you. Like, it's just like, it's insane. Like, the level of love and kindness that I experienced in the West Bank was just out of, like, I could write a book just purely on that, you know.
You should.
I would love to.
You should.
But yeah, so you walk into the camp, and I think why it was so upsetting is because you've got little kids that are just off their face on drugs. Like, it's the absolute, like, ghetto. Like, it's the absolute hood. Like, people, there's nothing there. Like, they have nothing. They can't do anything. The little kids, what do they do?
As I'm just listening to you, my heart goes out to those innocent people, man. Innocent women, children, men.
Exactly.
I can't imagine every day that's your reality.
This is the thing, their reality is just heartbreaking.
You know what I'm thinking about where do they grow their food? Where do they go toilet and stuff? Like, if you're not given space to, like, move your arm a bit and feed your people, what are they doing?
This is the thing.
Because land, once you grow on it, you have to turn it over, right, and move on to the next land. And give it.
100%.
If they got 1 kilo, oh my lord,
toxic soil.
This is
crazy.
Really,
and this is the thing, I think people, in what I notice is that everyone in Palestine is trying to speak out. They post on social media anything against Israel, anything to do with the freedom of Palestine is deemed the resistance and almost terrorism. So they're arrested. You know, Israel controls everything. So that's why all they want from foreigners or volunteers or people like me that have been there is for us to spread their message. And I truly feel like, as the global community, we have a duty. Of course. You know, like, we have to spread their message. Yeah.
We all know that it's happening, and it's been happening. What can we do? What do you want us to do? It's really the higher ups that need to do something, right?
Totally. But I
they
feel
will know
like
as well.
It's for us to stand
they do, and they're facilitating it. Exactly.
Yeah, so what?
This is the thing. I mean, this is a loaded question, but I feel like we're the 99%, right? And they're the 1%. Or we're the 95% and they're the 1%. And I feel like we need to understand how powerful we are if we all unite. Yes. You know, if the whole world said, no, we have to free Palestine, we are not having it, the government would be overthrown in a couple of days. You know, but we don't understand our power because we're so distracted, we're so divided, we're so deluded with our
trick, right?
This is exactly. And in a situation like Palestine, is a population that's been silenced and muted, and the people who are trying to speak out are getting censored. You know how many times me and my friends have posted stuff, and it's just,
right? They call you anti-Semitic and just silence you.
Yes. Oh man!
And they admit that they use that as a label to just silence people. Not all the time, but a lot of the time, it's a tact that they do.
This is
deep stuff, man.
It's deep, man. Back with Anuna Nina.
Hello.
Such a beautiful soul, man. Like, yeah, man. You won us, man. You won us.
Bless up,
You won
Queen,
us, man.
honestly.
Thank you.
Let's wrap this Israel stuff up, though. Yeah. What would happen if the US took themselves out of the equation and left Israel and Palestine to just handle things? What do you think will happen?
What do I think will happen? Well, US fully financially supports Israel. Like, it gives them the finances to do what they're doing.
Why?
Right? They send... Why? Oh, how deep do you want me to go? When we talk about Zionism, who runs the world, the elite, the 1%.
Why do USA feel they can pull out money and give it to other people? That's what I don't know why. Why do they feel they can do that?
Why do they feel like they can do this? So they give Israel $4 billion a year in military, in finances. That's what they give. They support Israel, so much. That's why a lot of people say, if America loves Israel so much, why don't you allow the Jews all to have a homeland in America? You've got enough land. Exactly.
Give them somewhere in Ohio or somewhere.
Exactly.
Can you imagine?
Common sense, though, isn't it?
Pick any state.
But like I said,
for the Holy Land.
Well, this is it. It's because of that history of what that specific land means, you know?
The soil.
Checkmate on the Most High. They're trying
the
to
region.
do that. They're trying
And also that
totally.
connects like Africa and the Middle East.
Even the name Middle East is silly.
The Middle
How
East.
can there be a
of the
Middle
East.
East? East is East.
What's
In
Middle
there. Like,
Come on.
It's true.
Come
The land
on.
is beautiful. Like, Jerusalem has to be like my favorite place in the whole world. It's absolutely incredible. You walk in there, whatever you
I've
believe,
heard,
whether you're,
actually.
I've
it's
seen.
phenomenal.
I've heard it's beautiful.
Really?
And you know
And-
what it is?
sorry,
It's
go
just like, it's just the vibe. It's the energy. Like, even if you are a staunch atheist, you will still feel it.
Yeah.
It's incredible. The amount of times I was moved to tears being in the old city of Jerusalem is just phenomenal. Like, I could literally write a book on it. I love it so
it
much.
could be a conscious point. Do you know what I'm saying? Jerusalem could be a conscious point.
Same.
Like
Higher
Stonehenge.
consciousness going over there.
Yeah, definitely, man.
The energy is
It's-
vibrating.
yeah.
If they're fighting for it
100%.
so much, it's like, what are you not fighting for, really?
Yeah,
Like, what is it?
totally.
Talk to us. Let us all know,
true.
because we all be fighting for it then.
Yeah, let's
That's
get
facts, innit?
involved.
And the optics is as if obviously here Israel and Jewish and all of that. The optics would be it's a white civilization, but I heard it's a lot of black and brown people there. I actually heard it's not majority black and brown over there, obviously because of the region and everything. Can you attest to that?
Yeah, so there's it's mainly Arab, right? We've
Yeah.
got obviously the Jewish population is growing, the Israeli population is growing like by the day, as is the Arab population. But this is the whole thing, like Israelis don't want to be in the minority, they want to be the majority, which is why they're taking such extreme measures, right, to occupy the land, get rid of the Palestinians, displace them completely and make life so bad for them that they leave. So they want to be the majority, but they're not right now. And it will take a while for them to become the majority because the Arabs have been there for generations upon generations. Even though there have been Jewish people there, they've always been in the minority. So to flip that will take decades, possibly even centuries. You know, and that's why you get paid. I think in America they give you something like 10,000. It's either £10,000 or $10,000 to go and live in the settlement. You know, to literally leave your family, leave everything, and go and live in the settlement. But Palestinians who have left can never return.
Wow. They're giving you incentives to go
Yeah,
there.
incentives. That's exactly what it is.
Okay, so I mean, just to differentiate and not put a whole group of people into one box, when we say Israelis and Jews and Zionists doing this, I mean, you can go as deep as you want, but who are the people that's kind of causing this? Who do we need to, I mean, not suppress, but who do we need to conflict to overcome this?
So the problem is not Judaism, it's not Islam, it's not Christianity. The problem is not a religious problem.
That's right.
It's the political side of it. It's Zionism. And 10 minutes down the rabbit hole and you see exactly what it is. You know, I don't want to speak about that too deeply because there's so much to say, right? But that's what it is. That's what the 1% who controls the world, the federal banks, the elite, this is all the ideology that they believe and support so strongly. And that is pretty much everything that's wrong in the world today.
And
the second that's overthrown is freedom for humanity, is freedom for people. That's why people that know the truth about the situation in Palestine, they won't shut up about it. And I'm one of them, you know, because you understand what that means for the rest of humanity, because the ideology of Zionism runs so deep. A small thing, why do we in this country, in the education system, why do we only learn about the Holocaust?
Of course, yeah.
You know, it's as basic as that, as simple things. They've infiltrated everything.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Why do we only learn about the Holocaust? When they talk about that, they say Adolf Hitler killed 6 million, right? But when we talk about King Leopold, how much did he kill, bro?
Exactly, the Belgium
He
Empire.
killed 10 million.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No one's saying that though. They're big numbers.
Yeah.
It's all constructed, isn't it? They know exactly
It's
what
all
they're
calculated, totally. And this is the thing.
doing. I would like to ask, so can Israel, do you think it can maintain the occupation and remain a democracy?
Well, it's like what we said about democracy being a bit of an illusion, right? Because the extreme right wing are always pulling the strings. In the same way in America, the deep state are pulling the strings. You know, so it's kind of like it's the democracy in Israel is an illusion. There are people that support Palestine, but they're silenced. So. Sorry, what was the original question? I've still gone out of my mind.
I just want to know, do you think that they can maintain, you know, you said that they've taken up occupation there.
Yeah.
Can they maintain that?
I don't think so. I mean, without funding from America, they would collapse. You know, Israel would collapse because they don't have the funds and they don't have the means to be able to continue this occupation. Like, all of the American taxpayers' money that goes towards Israel goes towards bombing Gaza, goes towards military occupation. Like, it's awful what the money goes towards.
The West that's funding
blood money.
America, exactly. Yeah, America, totally. And
Just America?
America, or I wouldn't want to answer that question because I don't know the ins and outs or the nitty gritty of the finances. But
you know it's America, though.
But yeah,
yeah, blame the
it's
Americans.
America. Yeah, thank
Them
you.
guys there.
Just put the blame on them. But yeah, no, America for sure. But other countries are complicit in this as well. You know, they all pay lip service. Yeah, we want freedom for Palestine, but what are they doing about it? What's Saudi Arabia doing? Nothing. What's all these other countries doing?
Because they're all
Nothing.
invested. That's why.
Exactly.
Somehow,
why? Because Zionism
some way.
runs the world.
It's true. We know this.
So how do the Palestinians rise, in your words?
How do they rise?
Up?
I think they rise through the words and the actions of others and the global community. Yeah. They've been so silenced and basically muted. I feel like it is up to the global community to, like, just don't stop talking about Palestine. You know, like, the word is censored. There was a rapper, I think it was Mike Righteous, that went on BBC One Extra or something, and he mentioned Palestine in his song. And it got censored.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Do you know what I mean? Like, their social media, everything that they do is controlled by Israel. So now it's up to, it's like, we have to be a voice for the voiceless, you know, like, otherwise what's the point in being born into a free, privileged country if you're not doing anything to support people who have no voice and don't have a platform? Exactly.
I feel like there's always hot flushes of, like, this topic of Gaza and Palestine.
Definitely.
It pops up, then it goes, gets suppressed, and pops up and goes. Like, the first time I heard of it, I was in secondary school.
Why does it pop up and go, though, bro?
Exactly, it gets stepped on. It gets stepped on.
So they use it when they want to distract you. Oh yeah, in Israel and Palestine again.
Yeah.
And I think they're just
1948, bro. Like, why do you keep coming up with this?
And it might come and go for us, but for the Palestinians, it's very real.
Every day.
It's
continuous, non-stop, totally.
You know the Creole people, yeah. When they got taken out of slavery, they used to jump in the water.
They'd rather die than actually be taken.
So maybe the Palestinians might just have to be like, you know what? If we're gonna die anyway, let's just
Kamikaze,
bro.
kamikaze.
It's that time, bruv. Like, if it's been going on since 1948, like, it's not gonna get any better, bro. You better you have to do that. You have to get your war face on.
There's many that are willing to actually fight to the death.
I'm assuming they're doing all fronts. They're sending their children to Jordan and then trying to infiltrate government and come back. There's wars on all angles of this. I think there's not just one way of doing it. There's just, everyone has to unite. You need bankers to do their thing. You need warriors to do their thing.
It's
you
a
need
collective thing.
Yeah, on all angles. And whether there's kamikaze people, they need to be frontline, do their thing.
I do believe that land is a conscious checkpoint. They're checkpointing all the consciousness on the planet. And if they got everything in a line, you never know what they're gonna do, bro. It's definitely. And look at the word. Look at the word she keeps using. Occupation. Like,
Occupy.
They need to vacate.
Really, it's you lot are thieves, bruv. Like, let's call it what it is. You're thieving land, bruv.
Why are they so obsessed with security? Because it's stolen.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want you to know they've stolen it.
Genocide.
They gave it a new name, branded it up, and hey, go occupy it now. Nah, bruv, you're thieving the thing, bruv.
And this is the thing, I feel like life has become so difficult for Palestinians. I think they're not even bothered about resisting now. They're just like, you know what, we just want to live peacefully. Like, let us travel from West London to South London. They can't even do that without crossing 2-3 checkpoints. Wow. Everything. It's like they're just locked in.
Those checkpoints.
Yeah, and of course, like, those, you know, soldiers walk around with guns. Like, that's scary. That's really scary.
Soldiers that don't like you as well.
That hate you. They're taught in their schools to hate you. You are the enemy. You are not one of us. It's us and them. Like, it's separate division, you know?
That's mad. Mad. Can you imagine, though?
Yeah.
Can you imagine just
if
living that every day?
If you're a healthy-bodied woman, you're going to feel vulnerable and insecure. If you're a healthy-bodied male, you're going to feel intimidated, or they might see that I may be strong. It's
totally, and that's what they've targeted, which is why there's such little resistance now. Because what are they going to do? You know,
they took all the men out.
Exactly, calculated and systematic.
On our side, do you think? I mean, not all we can do, but all it appears that we're doing over here is protesting, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think that's a strong stance? I mean, do you think that actually causes an impact?
Are you talking about protests for Palestine or for freedom?
Let's say
COVID?
in general. Just before we get into specifics, in general, and we can attach it to this subject, do you think us protesting, marching the streets, making a noise on free Palestine, do you think that's effective?
I think it's effective in a few ways. I think it's effective in educating people about the truth. I think it's effective in spreading awareness.
So awareness,
Yeah, and I think it's effective in sowing the seed in people's minds. You know, if you're a kid, like my kids at school ask me, Miss, free Palestine. They say it because it's trending. And then they ask me and I tell them. So they understand, like, unfortunately, it does take something to trend for people to, you know, recognise it, right? So I think that it's successful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's successful in a way, but I feel like unless every single person is protesting on the street and we are sat in the street refusing to move until the government physically does something and we see the change in front of our eyes before we leave the street, I feel like protesting is like, it's not pointless, but it's not as effective as it could be. Yeah. It's like with COVID now, all these freedom fighters, like, unless you're starting a riot, what's a protest going to do? You go home, you feel good about what you've done, but what have you changed?
From then onwards.
Yeah,
don't resume a week later to your normal life.
Exactly. Like, look at BLM, for example, right? The whole world protested. What's changed? 3 days ago, I saw a video of a little black boy getting dragged across the street by police.
Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
and
what's changed?
This is my thing. So I was all over the protests. Yeah, I think it's strength in numbers. It's powerful.
Unity,
it shows unity. But then, after a while, it loses its power if there's no action followed up behind it. So it's like it needs to be all of us on it, and then we need to follow it through with action.
This is what I'm saying, and that's why like divide and conquer is such a powerful agenda, because if you're constantly divided, you forget how united you could be. You forget unity.
I think the people have gone weak. Like
100%.
Back in the day when a politician done wrong, guys will turn up outside your house and dragging you outside your house, bro.
And
like,
also, police are puppets now.
Yeah.
This is the thing. So they're the government puppets. They're the ones that, imagine if we wanted to start a riot, but there's only like 500 of you. You're all going to get arrested and shoved in a jail cell.
Yeah. I personally think as well, it's a bit too late for us. I feel like you got to educate the youth on. I think we've lost the moral ground of what's right and wrong due to how we live today.
Lifestyles.
Yeah. For example, people think twerking's normal, but let's be chill, people. It's not. Do you get what I'm saying?
100%.
So
it's the next generation that we need to focus on.
Purify. Yeah.
We got to say what's right and what's wrong clearly.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think this is where sometimes I struggle, like, as a teacher, because obviously we have to be unbiased and neutral, and that's absolutely fine, but there's certain things that I believe so strongly in that make up my character that I can't speak about at school, because, you know, we have to be unbiased, we have to be impartial all the time.
Yeah,
so
that's what I wanted to ask. How does this, even your stance and ideology, affect how you teach and even your employment?
So I think for me as a teacher, I'm very much an advocate of, I want to teach children how to think, not what to think. Mm-hmm. So I would never put words in their mouth, or I never put thoughts in their head. I would just encourage them to question things, even the mainstream narrative. I'm not going to say, you know, not going to turn around and say my own personal views about the COVID situation, but I will encourage the kids and be like, who's benefiting here? Do you really want to live your life in fear? I teach at a Catholic school as well. Okay. And I always say to the kids that, what's the point in having faith if it doesn't eradicate your fear? You know? And fear is the currency of control for the government. If people are scared, they're going to be desperate to do anything to stop being scared. And that's exactly what they're doing right now.
Even conform.
Exactly. 100%. So my stance as a teacher is more just encouraging kids to just think outside the box and think a bit deeper about what's happening. Is it what you see, or is it a bit deeper than that?
What age group do you teach, sorry?
Secondary school, 11 to 16.
Okay.
So they're
we
wild.
need more teachers like you, Anuna. We do. We need a lot more teachers like you.
You must come across barriers as well at the teaching when you got to deal with certain ethnicities and of students, because their level of knowledge ain't as deep as others. due to experiences.
Or your
You know?
peers, your staff, the teachers.
Yeah, you know what
Oh
the
yeah, I
thing
forgot
is.
about them guys.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
The other educators, yeah.
Teachers, yeah.
This is the thing. I don't know. I feel like at school, like obviously I'm a teacher because I adore the kids, right? Like I'm not there to make friends and mix with the staff, but they all think I'm crazy because I'm the conspiracy theorist. I'm the one that asked the question. How dare you? What?
Seriously, radical.
And this, I walk in, and like my sister knows this so well. I walk into the staff room in the morning, and all they talk about is the vaccine. Like all they talk about is the vaccine. I got my second jab today. What about this? Like they're all moaning. It's like our whole society's become so just complacent, and it's like they're mentally asleep.
They are.
It's like they will just accept anything, literally
they are.
anything. And if you ask a question, what, you're crazy, behave, take a seat. You don't like Bill Gates? What? Oh my god, you're such a conspiracy theorist. Are you joking? Like, please don't get me started on Bill Gates because we'll be here till 6 p.m. But
I guess
a
we
lot
don't
of
need
things
to
say,
ask if she had the vaccine or gonna get it or not.
Well, behave.
Not happening.
Never,
Last
ever,
question.
ever.
Let's say you couldn't teach in a school until you got a vaccine. What are you doing?
Leave him. Start my own school.
Powers.
Hey, give a round of applause. Give a round of applause.
Anuna.
And if the 95% do the same,
Thank you so much.
we can overcome.
100%. I just want to. The last thing I want to say is that there is one race, which is the human race,
Facts.
and there is one religion, which is humanity. And I
Facts.
feel like the world forgot. So let's remember and take a stand. Stand up for Palestine.
Powers.
The voice to the voices.
Big
Powers.
Wow.
Gosh, you're so inspiring.
I'm
Honestly.
blown away.
Telling you.
I'm waiting for the book, the documentary, then the film.
I'm
waiting for it all.
Yeah, totally. The book. So I wrote a book a few months ago. It's a short little picture book, and it's a little sweet story between a little refugee boy and a little lost kitten. And it's for kids aged 5 to 7 years old, and it's in the process of being published.
What's it called?
Watch this space. It's called the Refugee and the Little Lost Kitten. Refugee and the Little Lost
So
Kitten.
where can they find it when it's published? Where you
I will be selling it on Amazon when it's published, but it will be on my Insta. So
Yeah, we'll post
please
it as
follow
well.
my Insta.
We'll
if you're
post it on our
interested.
page as well, definitely.
Thank you,
Oh,
appreciate
definitely.
it.
Big up, man.
So much love. Thank you so much.
You're an inspirational woman, man. Damn.
education.
I'm
today.
blown.
Come on.
Makes you want to do more, innit?
And you was nervous. Yeah, you got us all nervous now. I
I was so nervous.
No, man, you're good. man.
So
You're blessed.
tell the people anything you got going on now. What kind of to look out for in the future,
What's
other
the
than your book?
What's the future plans?
Yeah.
Oh, what's the future plans? I guess we'll see where this year takes me, right? Because what the question you asked me before about if I have to get the vaccine to work in the school, that's a very realistic scenario.
It's happening in certain industries. It is.
This
already.
is the thing, and it concerns me because I don't have the funds to start my own school. As much as I love to do that, it's difficult. So I don't know. I think definitely writing. Being an author is like a dream to me. Bit more activism.
Teach on YouTube now.
You know, it's so funny. My kids say to me, "Miss, you should start a YouTube channel. I should do this."
Especially
and I
international.
Oh, you can be bigger than you. You had to see that.
Oh, right?
You had to
Reach
see
the
that.
whole world now.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. I'd absolutely love to.
And homeschooling is a big thing now, right? And
Yeah.
you know, we've always had like traditionally in our communities, we've had like Saturday schools, and we've
Yeah.
always kind of taught our youth. So yeah, maybe look into
Yeah, like
that.
a virtual
Yeah.
type. Yeah, totally.
I don't know if this is a silly question. Like, how do you know how like internet use is in Palestine and these places? Is it available, or is it like you have
It
to be
is-
a certain class? Or
It is available. In the West Bank, I think it's quite readily available. But obviously, Israel
general-
controls everything.
Of course,
Yeah. Whereas in
Damn.
Gaza, they have like 2 hours of electricity a day.
yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah. Back home in Zam, we've got half a day.
But they got generators, right?
Yeah, you can get personal generators, but
Yeah.
on a national level.
Yeah,
The
and
national
who's got
grid
money
is
for
not,
that?
the
Exactly.
infrastructure isn't there.
Yeah.
I only said that because you can do, English seminars to those kids, just for ideas.
Yeah.
I know this
yeah.
sounds silly as well, but he did mention, is there classism in Palestine? Like with
You know
the
what's really
Palestinian
funny?
people? Yeah, with the
Yeah.
Palestinian
Yeah,
people.
do you know what's really funny, right?
I'll
is
be
that
shocked if there is.
yeah, you would
There is
think
everywhere.
in a situation as extreme as that there would be like 100% uni,
Yeah.
but actually there's not. In the same way you get 30,000 people from anywhere, they're gonna make their own little social structure and social hierarchy.
There's the stone
And apparently-
throwers, the shooters,
You know, this is just true though.
But
and they
it's a
kind
natural
of like,
thing, though. To be fair, it
When
is
you
a
put loads of people
it is a
together,
natural
you're always
thing.
gonna
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Hierarchy,
is.
yeah.
No,
It is.
totally.
You go
And
what's
the-
more similar to you.
exactly, you want to stick to
Yeah.
close to your
If
own,
someone's
people
like
that you
not clean,
recognise.
you ain't gonna be chilling with them every day. You're gonna educate them or keep it stepping, innit? You're gonna find a few people and chill with them, innit?
It's nature.
It's just
No,
natural.
it's true,
You
it's
gravitate
true.
to what you gravitate towards.
Not
Yeah.
forgetting the language barriers and
Yes.
stuff like that as well. So,
No,
you know.
100%. And the people in the West Bank, they're kind of, some of them anyway, not all of them, but some of them, they kind of look down on Gaza. I don't know why. I don't know what the reason is. Obviously, Gaza is very poor. They're struggling the most. Exactly, that's what it is. It's the shanty town right off Palestine, but they're the ones that need the most help, kind of thing. So, yeah.
So what can we do?
I think the biggest thing that we can do here is not stop talking about it. Spread awareness, educate people. Don't stop talking about it just because it stops trending. Don't stop finding out what's going on. Watch the documentaries. Educate yourself. Educate people who might have a different view to you.
I'm sharing this interview to everyone.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to do.
Definitely.
Could see that.
When's the next Palestine protest?
I'm not sure. But I will, when I find out, I'll post it on my Instagram if people want to go.
Yeah, man.
For sure. Yeah, protesting.
Yeah, man.
Definitely. Spreading awareness, that's the main thing, because I feel like in this country we're very miseducated on certain topics. We only
100%.
know what they want us to know, you know, and we're very conditioned without realising it. So I think first realising and acknowledging that, and then educating yourself properly about like the truth of situations is very, very important.
And sharing it. That's the most important
sharing
thing.
the education, of course.
I think we need to talk to our neighbours and friends more.
Yes.
Because that's how we get the real information. Because if she didn't come today and say certain things, we wouldn't have this knowledge.
That's
Do
true.
you know what I'm saying?
I've
We would have got our
learned
knowledge
so
from the media. So I think the communication with everyone needs to improve, number one.
And also platforms like these are fantastic. You know, because this is the stuff that we're talking about. People are scared to talk about it.
Powers.
Yeah.
We ain't scared out here. Really fear the most high.
No, ready. Exactly.
We ready. It's so
100%.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
100%.
very, very, very interesting. That.
Okay, what? When was your last protest? Sorry, it's just to end it off. When was your last protest?
Do you attend protests first of all?
So the last
Yourself?
few, I do. I always have up until last year, and then I stopped.
Okay.
Mainly because now with the state of the world, there's so much videoing at protests, and for my job, if I get seen at
Of
protests, is like it's
See,
not
look
okay.
at that. Look at that again.
not
You just
okay.
can't be freedom in speech and expression.
But this is also
without
why I won't
repercussion.
shut the fuck up on social media. Just saying. But yeah, so
Hopefully.
unfortunately, as a teacher, and that's why I feel like my teaching career is possibly a little bit limited, because my time in teaching anyway is limited because of there are sort of restrictions and there are ceilings, exactly.
So last question before we wrap this up here. Why did you become an English teacher? What was the
Why?
why English? Because that's
Why
the most complicated
English?
language, isn't it?
No, you're right. You're not wrong. It is.
It is.
I think I became an English teacher because in English, what's great is that we talk about the big ideas and the larger concepts. So, for example, we'll be reading Of Mice and Men, and we talk about racism, gender equality, America back then, like when there was race divide, the 1930s civil rights movement, like really interesting topics, as opposed to maths where it's like there's one right answer. In English, everything is about interpretation and your opinion and your view of it and what you make of it. And for me, I'm quite a deep thinker, so for me that's quite it's in line with my value of teaching children how to think instead of what to think. So that's why I think English is
Other languages are a bit more literal in your tongue. English, you can take it literal, but you can also
English is the most
it.
complicated language. I think Finnish is the most easiest language.
It's a hybrid, isn't it? It's a mix of languages, isn't it? English.
Yeah.
Is that right, isn't it?
It's a bastard language.
You said
fun
it. Come
English.
on. Let's get it out.
I whispered it still. I didn't say it in my chest.
Say it with your chest, man.
Well, kids
Come
listening.
stay in school, do well in school.
Hey, but you know
Work
what?
hard in English.
It is that time of the morning. I mean, the rising. Anuna, it was a pleasure,
Big
man.
pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Can you tell my
for
tone of my
having
voice has
me.
gone down? Because I hate this. Nay, just finish it off for me.
Listen,
I don't want to say it.
you are an inspirational queen. Thank you so much. And
much.
please don't stop what you're doing. Keep pushing it. Please tell everybody where they can follow you.
Instagram is my main thing. At Anuna Nina 89.
Follow up.
I post stuff, Palestine, truth, what's happening today, everything. So hit me up, follow me, support.
Anuna Nina 89.
Yeah, Nuna, Nunanina 89.
Okay.
That's me.
Hey, big up Anuna Nina, man.
Thank you so
Today-
much. I love
today
you.
was-
Thank
Anuna Nina,
you.
this queen is going places and she's taking everyone with
You know
her.
what? It was very enlightening, man. I got to absorb this. I told you I wanted to do already, innit? You got me angry and I wanted to go out. And I want to play it. But we ain't finished yet. We got something for you.
Yes.
Oh, goodies. You got goodies.
You are part of the gang now, sis.
You got me a
For
t-shirt.
us and the gang, yeah.
Official
Amazing.
stamp.
Thank
Yes, man.
you.
Thank you. We're honoured
Thanks
to have
so much
you.
for your guys' time, giving me this platform and opportunity.
No,
thank you.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks so much.
You gotta come back and tell us what else.
Oh,
is going
100%.
on.
I'd love to come back. We talk about
Definitely. You probably be the
conspiracies,
leader
the
of the
rabbit hole.
Palestine revolution by then,
Come
innit?
Let's do this.
Jesus.
Yes.
Hey, you know he's a cameraman as well, so he can come
Yeah.
and film you.
Amazing.
We got content we can make.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
It's gonna be mad, man.
Let's
Powerful.
do it.
Oh, I love
Thank you,
that.
man.
Thanks again. Yes.
Thanks to
it's
you
been lovely.
guys.
Thanks for locking in, family. Power.
Yeah, thanks to the listeners.
Yes. Everyone, big up yourselves. Myself, Talent Mafio.
100 eyes.
And the Empress Nay. Happy Father's Day to everybody.
Hey.
And this is Pals for Breakfast.
Pals.
Powers.
Have a good day, everyone.